You're listening to the N.W.A, the Nubian Wrestling Advocates.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Yo, it's Righteous Reg. It's a case for the safe, keep a space for the Nubians. Unfiltered, off kilter, the professor, the godfather, post wrestling, the N.W.A. Not keep guessing, the views and expressions, you know the rest. It's pod excellence, get the message. Advocates for Nubian wrestling, you're listening to the best again. Black wrestling in the ring we invested in. Nubian kings and queens we invested in. It's for the culture and we reppin' it. It's for the culture and we reppin' it.
I know you bobbing your head, because I can see you. You can't see me. What's going on, brothers and sisters? Shout out to that man, Righteous Reg, for blessing us with the theme song. You know what it is. You know what we do. Welcome to the NWA Podcast, the Nubian Wrestling Advocates, the show all about getting color in the professional wrestling business. We are back and better than ever. This is our second episode in the post-wrestling era, and we just wanted to thank everyone out there who took the time to check out the show last month. We appreciate, I was going to say we appreciate all the feedback. Let's just say we appreciate most of the feedback, like 75, 80% of the feedback. There's 20% that's a little suspect, but we ain't going to talk about that right now. At least I'm not going to talk about it, because I have a feeling my tag team partner, my co-host, might have something to say, because he is the angry intellectual. Y'all know this man. He hails from the City of Angels. Give it up for my brother, the professor, Kris from L.A., a.k.a. Kris Ealy. How you doing this month, brother?
Great to be here on the Wrestling Observer Network, presenting Nubian Wrestling Advocates. All right. My bad. I mean, post-wrestling is what I mean. Shout out to Jim Ross.
I was gonna say you had a good old JR moment there, by God.
I love JR, man. It's like they wrestling fans is ready to cancel that dude. You see, he hates wrestling. He hates AEW. He wants to be back in WWE. He's like, God, Jesus, man. If I count the amount of like faux pas I've had on the air, I'm not even talking about like technical issues. I'm talking about speaking. I'd be a millionaire, man.
Especially when you off that Moderna and Hennessy.
Right, you know.
It's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kris, real quick before we get to our next segment, like, how have you felt about the launch of the show? Because I know, like I said, we got a lot of feedback on the first episode of the Nubian Wrestling Advocates here on Post. And like I said, most of it was pretty positive, man. And most of it, was people just like, we dig the show. We like, the interaction that you guys bring and the perspective that you guys are bringing to the table.
Yeah, man. I mean, I appreciate constructive criticism. I making fun of like the way I talk and stuff like that. I've been getting that for years. So it's whatever. It's when you get into the more racial areas, some fool on there is trying to educate me on the word Nubian. I'm like, what the dude? This is my bag, okay? Africana Studies was my minor in undergraduate. So, don't try to talk to me about the transatlantic slave trade and where slaves came from and just all this nonsense, man. But it is what it is. People are listening and educating us on Black history. And I go to this dude's like profile page, and he's got like a picture of, I think it was one of the Dukes of Hazzards up, or like I seriously do. I think he had like a picture of like Bo Duke or whatever, try to give give a history lesson on like black.
I think we can agree though, Kris. Like if there's been maybe one acceptable use of the Confederate flag in modern media, and that was on the General Lee.
Right, you know what? I co-sign on that, man. I like it's funny too because the Dukes of Hazzard, they hated police, man. Their whole thing was running away from the police, right?
We just trying to run this moonshine.
Yeah, that's what made them cool. You know what I'm saying? I don't know when the police became the good guys between the Dukes of Hazzard and now, but
man, like that's a whole other topic for another day. Because you go back and look at all the movies and TV shows, Kris, Dukes of Hazzard,
yeah,
Smokey and the Bandit,
yes,
like all of them, like the cops were the bad guys. But you know, things change, things evolve, you know. But I guess like the Dukes of Hazzard, Kris, the one thing you can say about the N.W.A. podcast, the Nubian Wrestling Advocates, is much like Bo and Luke, man. We don't mean any harm.
I agree.
So, to that, man, we're not trying to hurt nobody. We just trying to have a good time, talk about some of these topics in the world of professional wrestling from our perspective and our viewpoint. And to help us do that, you know what we got to do, Kris? We got to bring in our nephew, the youngest in charge. You know him from Post Wrestling, bringing y'all all that good, informative news. You know him from Bush P. and Thompson. And, of course, you know him from right here. Ladies and gentlemen, he is our official anchor at the Nubian News Desk. Y'all give it up for my nephew, Andrew Thompson, with the news.
My guys, Kris and Nate, my pa uncles. What's going on, fellas? I appreciate y'all bringing me on for the second episode. Congratulations on your on the launch. I know I'm a part of it, but I'm proud of you guys for the main show that you guys put out there, despite, you know, some of the people who had some comments to say that were derived from other things other than, you know, anything that you guys talked about on the show. But we ain't gonna get into that too much. We're gonna keep it try to keep it positive for the most part. But you guys did a great job. I'm proud of both of you, and yeah, we gonna keep the ball rolling.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah, like you said, man, like why focus on the 20%, man? We got 80% of the people out there in the world, and especially our postmarks out there that want to hear our opinions. So we're going to focus on that. We're going to keep it moving. And to that end, Andrew Thompson, why don't you let us know what the first news story is this month?
Well, this one took over social media for almost a week. It's kind of a thing where I think everybody knows about this situation. And if you don't, I'm pretty sure you've at least heard the name. An individual, young lady by the name of Kenice Mobley, was all over social media a couple of weeks back. She accepted a job with WWE. They offered her a position to be a writer. She went on a podcast and she did it was called the Asian Not Asian podcast. And this podcast was, you know, it wasn't necessarily a wrestling podcast, but she was forward about, you know, accepting the position in WWE and, you know, how she got started in the process and all that. And, you know, she was the transcription, the first one that kind of made the rounds, the transcripts got out was, you know, she said, yes, I have just been hired by WWE. Given the things that you know about me in my entire life and what I'm into, yes, that is surprising. Yes, also a surprise for me. They did not require me to know anything about wrestling, but I do have a background in film production and comedy writing. And they're like, perfect, come on in. Initially, you know, a lot of people weren't really happy about that comment. The fact that she didn't know that she wasn't required to know anything about wrestling, but that is not something that's uncommon in WWE. We've heard countless times from numerous writers that when they first got started in, you know, writing professional wrestling, that wasn't something that was, you know, required of them. And I don't think it ever really has been required. As we all know, WWE kind of looks at themselves as more of an entertainment product than professional wrestling. So they want people from these TV shows, from people that have done these different reality TV shows, or, you know,
like at some points in history, like it's been in the job description, Andrew. It's like wrestling knowledge is a plus, but it's not required.
Right. Yeah. That's basically, you know, yeah, maybe you just hit the nail on the head. But the next comment that she made, kind of that was the one that, you know, blew up all over social media. And I'm curious as to you guys' thoughts about that, when she didn't know the Bobby Lashley's name, the WWE champion. Like it was a comment of like, she was like, she should know that. But at the time she hadn't, you know, gotten fully involved in the whole thick of WWE. She was just starting her position, you know, so she didn't know the WWE champion's name, and that kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And that was the quote that I seen really get out there. So I was wondering, like, what you guys thought about that overall, and like, do you think that this whole thing was kind of blown out of proportion to the point where this lady ended up losing her job? Because that, like, I was looking at it from more of the human perspective, I guess, is the better way to phrase it, instead of like just the professional wrestling side. Because I'm like, and then she talked about in the podcast, like, this is a job that was like her highest paid gig. You know what I'm saying? So I was looking at that from that perspective.
Yeah, I'll take the first swing at this, Kris. And I think we have to kind of break this story up into smaller parts. First of all, I think there is the issue of the writers that the WWE chooses to hire. And like Andrew just mentioned, they've been going after entertainment people. They've been going after TV writers. They've been going after comedians. Patrice O'Neal, the late, great Patrice O'Neal, was on the staff for a brief time. Freddie Prinze Jr., was on the staff for a minute. And so this is not something new in the context of WWE. Then we get to the portion of this story that is about representation and about diversifying your creative staff. And I feel like this was a big deal for them to hire Knis, because I believe there's only one other woman of color, and I believe her name is Millie Tavares. I may be wrong on that, but I believe Millie was the only other writer in the room that was a black female. And so it's like, this was a big deal. And for her to lose her job over a podcast, it feels way too punitive for the crime committed here, quote unquote, crime. And then the third thing I think, Kris, is to what degree did the outrage of the fans, particularly on social media, to what degree did the outrage from some of these fans play in Knis getting dismissed? Because the company's like, oh, this was something internal. I don't think so. Like, I think had she not said this on the podcast, and even if she had said this on the podcast, right? Like, had it not picked up and, like Andrew said, dominated wrestling Twitter for a week, I think she would still be employed by the WWE, man.
Yeah, I do. So I actually went and listened to the podcast that she was on. I read the transcript first, but I didn't think that was going to give me a full context of what happened. First of all, I understand completely why WWE might want to hire writers with no experience. Before I became a professional in my career, I bartended for like 10 years. It was a long time. And
you were the angriest bartender ever. What do you want, fool?
Man, that job, while I was doing it, it was fine. But then when you look back at that job, it's like, man, I hated that fucking job. But here's the thing about, though, is when you would bring in people that went to one of those overpriced, fancy bartending schools and have to train them, those were the worst people to train, because every restaurant does things a little bit different. And those bartending schools aren't as good as actually starting off as a server, graduating to a bartender, whatever. So I understand from that perspective. When I was listening to her on the podcast, first, I don't think she should have gotten fired for that. Let me preface my comments for that. But I do think she was kind of trying to be funny by calling Bobby Ashley. I personally think she knew that brother's name. and
honestly, hold on. Full disclosure, though, like, that's a funny line. Like, if she had written that for like Xavier Woods to say in a promo, like calling him Bobby Ashley, that's a funny line, man.
Right, yeah. That's something that should have been saved for that, But also it was like, I don't think she meant any like real harm by doing it. I definitely don't think she should have been fired after that. I think that should have been a learning experience. Like, look,
right,
these fans on the internet, we take wrestling seriously. You know, that should have been just outlined to her. Like, look, you know, we've got stockholders, we've got this, we got that. And if you're going on podcasts and treating everything we do like a joke, maybe that'll be problematic. Now, in her defense, WWE treats their own product like a joke. So it's like, you know, it is what it is. But I mean, I do think that, you know, and I saw the clip of her on, I think it was Fallon, on the Tonight Show, and she's a funny woman, so I think she's gonna bounce back. But yeah, and I don't think she was coached enough to be like, you know, to know how hot and cold Vince McMahon and people in WWE are. They always need a fall guy for something.
That's okay, Chris. You just hit on a good point, and this kind of leads me into something else because, yeah, like it's that old quote, Andrew, from, you know, the Monday Night Wars, where Vince and Ted Turner had that conversation. And Ted Turner's like, hey, Vince, you know, I'm in the wrestling business now. And Vince is like, well, that's great, Ted. I'm in the entertainment business. I'm in the television business. So this is something that Vince has always seen wrestling as, right? Like it's not this pure athletic competition that some of the fans want to frame it as. This is TV. And so it doesn't make any sense to me, Andrew, when you got somebody like Kenice, or on the in front of the camera side, somebody like Adnan Virk, right? Who we just throw to the wolves and we don't coach them up. It's like, how can you expect these people to succeed in an environment that they have not been in without giving them the proper training? And then when you kick them to the curb, you're like, oh, they just didn't get the culture. It's like, no, you didn't explain the culture to these people.
Like I think one of the main things is that with WWE, the creative team is like this like behind the scenes group of individuals that we have never seen. Like we don't know who these people are. So when you got somebody who is on the creative team and they're speaking out publicly and it was this specific situation, people are automatically throwing all of this at one single person because they already don't like WWE creative. So like they looking at, oh, that's an active WWE writer who's open right there. And like the thing that was like really annoying me about the whole situation, like the fallout of it, was the fact that like they were like targeting her. Like I didn't like the whole, you know, that I saw people was like emailing her and, you know, sending her like nasty messages and stuff like that. And like that's the sort of like tribalism and like the corny shit that I'm not a fan. Oh, excuse my language, but the corny stuff that I'm not really a fan of is like going that far. Like I get, you know, of course, like we as wrestling fans, we take professional wrestling seriously as far as like the presentation of it and how it is presented to us, because some, you know, for years, like the outside media really didn't view professional wrestling, or maybe some still don't view professional wrestling as something that's legit. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't know the ins and outs how we know the ins and outs. But the fact that, you know, it came to a point where people were like targeting her personally, like I didn't, like Chris and they say, I don't think that she deserved to be fired. I think she should still have a gig with WWE. But I think it's just the point that it blew up so much, and it was the conversation throughout an entire week that led to, you know, her you know, ultimately being let go from the company.
And people got so angry, right? Like I could get you feeling some type of way. Andrew's like, oh, she didn't know who the world champion was. Like that's not a great look, but it's like, I don't get the vitriol because Vince is looking at this like it's TV, man. Like everybody that writes for Marvel hasn't read a Marvel comic book, right? Like I think one of the people that worked on WandaVision like hadn't read the Wanda books until they got hired for the show. And so it's like every writer doesn't have to know everything, Chris. The question is, are you a good writer first, right? Because there's millions of fans out there that can have their fantasy booking, that can have their WrestleMania dream matches, but do you know how to tell a story? And if you don't know how to tell a story, then why are you denigrating this woman that has proven that she can be a good writer, that has proven, Chris, that she knows how to tell a story?
Yeah, and this is on Vince McMahon and them too, because it's like, did you explain to this woman the cultural significance of Bobby Lashley being champion at this moment? especially like a dominant champion, a champion that I
would look, Chris. I would counter. Does Vince understand the cultural significance?
Yeah,
right.
And I do think that you're right, Nate, and I think you're right too, Andrew. I think that they don't understand the cultural significance of these moments. I think Vince McMahon sees Bobby Lashley as a big black piece of meat and doesn't understand like what him being WWE champion means for the overall culture.
He just sees a hoss.
Yeah, like when they jobbed Kofi Kingston out in 10 seconds on that first episode of SmackDown on Fox that I was at, actually, I don't think he understood.
Nope.
Or cared what that meant to the masses out there, especially the black wrestling fans that might want to consider getting into the wrestling business, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or patronizing your product. So I think there's a very just deep cultural problem in WWE at the moment. I think Kris, I think she can grow and get better from this. I think they can get better at this too and explain to these writers what their job entails and how they need the writer when they appear on outside media just to take wrestling seriously. Because I could even totally see in the interview they probably didn't take wrestling seriously either in the interview, and they were probably joking with her.
Yeah, because the host was her friend, so I think they were just talking like friends talk. But it's two things. One, I do feel like you got to coach your people up, man. Like if you're gonna have them do outside things, like you got to let them know what the real deal is. But you mentioned culture, Chris, and I think this is a good place to kind of leave this story before we move on to Andrew's next story. Because I was talking with Marcus over the weekend, Marcus Vanderberg from the Kings of Sport, and he was on with us for the post-podcast day edition of the NWA podcast. And we were talking, and Marcus was like, does the Kenice Mobley situation make it harder for black women and women of color and people of color to get their foot in the door from a creative perspective with the WWE? Because like, let's be real, man. Like, there is a very short runway that people of color have in the entertainment world, and I felt it the most. And I don't know how you two guys felt about this when this movie came out. When Black Panther came out, I couldn't really enjoy it the first time I saw it because I was like, yo, if this movie is terrible, if this movie is a flop, if this movie is Thor 2: The Dark World, we're never getting another black movie for at least 10, 15 years in terms of a big blockbuster superhero movie. And so I think on a micro level, Andrew, like there's pressure on people like Kenice or people like Millie Tamarez, where it's like, if I screw up, how long is it going to be before somebody else that looks like me gets another chance?
Yeah, I think something you hit on, it's like more so of that internal pressure as well. Like it might not even come from, outside factors. It might just be you within yourself as a black woman or as a black man, and that could be in that scenario. It might just be like you having that mental thought in your head, like if I mess this up, then this might be it for me. You know what I'm saying? Just already having that thought of being in that type of environment where, we've heard countless stories from, WWE and, from people that have worked there and been on creative, like at the snap of a finger, Vince could get rid of you just like that, just for whatever reason. If he don't like something you say, or he don't like a certain idea, or, Jimmy Jacobs said he had an issue with him because of the way he dressed or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like just small, irrelevant stuff like that. And especially, like you mentioned, Nate, in this specific situation with Kenice being a black woman and being in that position that she was in, like, it's going to sort of make people that other black women that could come into that position be like, well, damn, if I mess up one time or I do this one time, then, that could be it for me. And that's not the type of, place that, anybody should be. Like, so I hope that that's not, the case, but that is a very valid point that you, that Marcus and you brought up.
Right. I don't think it's going to get better for black women. I don't think it's going to get worse for black women in WWE, especially behind the creative scene. I think it's going to stay exactly as it was, which is hard as fuck for Black women in that space. I just think it's going to stay that way. I do hope if they do hire someone new that it is a Black woman. But if they don't, then, it's just more work we got to do as fans, because like you said, they need the representation on TV. And there's just certain things that I think if a Black woman was in WWE, I just think certain creative things would probably just get nixed before what wouldn't even make it past the cutting room floor. Because they've done some suspect things with Black women over the years. So.
Yeah. So, and I think my last thing on this story, Andrew, is like, first of all, shout out to Kenice Mobley. I think, like we've all said, she's going to land on her feet, man. Like, people in the industry know about her, and hopefully she broke off a nice little severance package from Vince and them. But I feel like at the end of the day, Andrew, we can advocate. That's the word of the day. That's the word of the show. We can advocate for change and diversity and, various viewpoints in the writing room as much as we want. But at the end of the day, the show is going to be filtered through the lens of a 70-year-old rich white dude. Like,
it is
through his sensibilities, through his worldview, like as creative as some of the people want to get within that creative team, ultimately Vince has final say. And there's only so much you can do coloring inside of those lines. So, best of luck to Kenice and continued luck to Millie inside the WWE. But I like Kris said, Andrew, I don't think things are going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, just before we finally wrap this up, I want people to really truly stop bothering this woman, please. Like I promise you, it's more as other things in this world that you could dedicate your time to than to be sending this woman emails and harassing her, because that's not it. And that's all I got to kind of say on that story. So best of luck to Kenice going forward. Talented person, and I'm sure she'll land on her feet. But next up, more so on the positive side, we had a title change this week on NXT. Isaiah Swerve Scott won the NXT North American title from Bronson Reed. I think this was the perfect time to put the title on him. The hit row thing is actually clicking. I would say this is probably the first time that I've seen something hip hop related in WWE that wasn't corny. And it's like them actually being them, Ashanti the Adonis, Brianna Brandy, AJ Francis, and of course Swerve leading the group. There have been 10 NXT North American champions thus far, and 5 of them have been Black. We have Keith Lee, Ricochet, Leon Ruff, Patrick Clark, formerly known as the Velveteen Dream, and now Isaiah Swerve Scott is the current North American champion. I think this was a great move. He has the momentum right now, and Hit Row is clicking with all cylinders, and you can just tell Black wrestling fans love it, and it seems like everybody else is enjoying Hit Row as well. Yo,
is NXT low key becoming like the urban brand between Hit Row and then you got a guy Stokely Hathaway, aka Malcolm Bivens, with the Diamond Mine. Like, yo, we winning in 2021 on NXT.
Yeah, man, I'm liking the stuff I'm seeing on NXT at the moment. Shout out to Stokely Hathaway, Michael Bivens, or what's his name? Not
Malcolm.
Michael Bivens. That's Bell Bivens.
You talking about Bell Bivens DeVoe?
That was a JR flub right there.
Michael Bivens here, and I'm running the show. Now you know.
Shout out to BBD.
Yo, shout out to we're recording this the day after the Bobby Brown versus Keith Sweat battle. That was a moment for the old heads right there. New Jack Swing forever.
But I'm enjoying NXT, and this is a thing that I do think that even though I don't love everything WWE is doing with Black talent overall, I think they are heading more in the right direction than they are in the wrong direction, which is when we did the first episode of this show, I don't think any of us would say that. You know what I'm saying? I think that because my whole thing with WWE is I just want the black talent to be developed and be fleshed out and have like backstories, layers, if you will. Thank you, Andrew. Layers, if you will, to them, because that was one thing that was always missing from black talent. And I never, and I it probably was missing from other races. I noticed it because I'm black, and I noticed that.
Well, the storytelling was kind of suspect across the board, but it resonates more when you have black or brown talent who get fewer opportunities.
Right. Yeah.
So it hits even harder.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, Nate, because I think people don't understand that, like, the reason why, like, with AEW, and I'm sure that'll come up later, but the problem with AEW not having black talent on the top, and you might say, well, there's white talent that's not doing anything either. That might be true, but when it's black talent not doing everything, that's every black talent that's in that company that's not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? There are white guys in AEW that's doing significant stuff. And that's how it used to be in WWE. There were talented performers that were just not doing anything. And there were white guys that weren't doing anything either, but there were also a ton of white guys that had significant stuff going on screen. So that's one of the things I love about Swerve Scott winning that title is that I wanted to get to a point where when someone black wins the title, I don't have to be like, oh, this is something special and this and that.
You don't have to get emotional.
Right, yeah, I just want it to be a regular thing.
You ain't got to cry when Leon Ruff wins the undisputed title.
Now, you want to know what? I think that's some real, like, that's a good point that Kris brought up. Like, it shouldn't be this, like, oh my God type thing. Like I think it should be it that way in the fact that, like, maybe it was like, okay, this was a long time coming, or, this was the right time to do this. But, like, not in the sense of, oh my God, like, we got another black champion. Like, that shouldn't be something like that should be so surprising. Or so, like, just but I do think on the other hand, it is something that should be celebrated because, WWE has a long history. And, we ain't just say WWE, but professional wrestling as a whole has a long history of, that sort of gatekeeping, white gatekeeping, I guess is the proper way to put it. Yeah. And, like, not to go too far, but there was an article from Sports Illustrated, and I highly encourage everybody to go check it out. They did, like, this deep dive into something like the history of professional wrestling and racism and stuff. Like, it was a really great article. But for Isaiah Swerve Scott, I'm happy for him, man. Like, I think everybody kind of knows Swerve from his time on the independent scene. Like, he grinded his way up. He made it, man. He had like his rough bumps in NXT as far as, like, not being able to find something that fit. But it turns out the best way to let black talents in professional wrestling is to more so let them be themselves on TV. And maybe just turn it up to 10,
Yeah,
and
we saw that with the New Day.
Yeah, and we seeing it, and it's happening, and I'm happy for him and AJ Francis and Brianna Brandy and Ashanti Adonis. Like, I think that's a good way to get all four of them on TV. Like, they all doing well, they all performing well, they all talking to Mike, they all got charisma, they could talk. Like, I think that's one of the more prominent things as far as WWE. Like, you got to have mic skills, and I think all of them have shown that so far. So I think the sky's the limit for them, man. I think he'll probably end up feuding with Santos Escobar. That's probably gonna be like the big thing for him. But they probably gonna revisit some with Leon Ruff, because Leon got the edge up on him a couple times. So yeah, it's gonna be cool to see what they do with Hero going forward. But I'm glad they finally have a hip hop act that's not corny, bro. Like, I'm so happy to see this.
Authenticity is the word. Like, we felt that with the New Day, where, yes, there was stuff that you could tell was kind of corny, but there were also things that felt specifically and authentically black with the New Day. And you could tell that came from the performers. And I think it's the same thing with Hit Row. And to Kris's point about the champions, I think a word that's kind of come into popularity the last couple of years, Andrew, is normalized. Like, I think we need to normalize black and brown champions. Like there should be a day where it shouldn't be like this. Oh my goodness. Like they did it. They pulled the trigger. I didn't believe they was going to do it, but they did it. And we're not there yet. But I think like wrestling at its core is a simulation of combat sports, boxing, MMA, martial arts, all that stuff. And it's like, if you look at the champions in those sports, it's a rainbow, man. It ain't just white dudes. It's white dudes, black dudes, Latinx dudes. Like it's, Asian brothers, it's so many ways that you can tell these stories, and it doesn't have to be the way it's been told for the last 30, 40 years. And so I think we're getting to a point, Andrew, where we're starting to normalize diversity in our pro wrestling and our sports entertainment, if you want to call it that. We're just not quite there yet, but I think we're getting there.
I agree. And before we move on to this last topic, just a quick little note. D'Lo Brown was a guest on the Black Guy Wrestling Podcast. Go support those good brothers. And he revealed that he and Mark Henry
had to do a crossover one of these days.
There you go. And he revealed that he and Mark Henry were supposed to win the WWF Tag Team titles at WrestleMania 15 from Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart. But Mark Henry unfortunately had surgery, and our good brother D'Lo ended up taking that L at WrestleMania in Philly instead. But that was just a quick little note. That's something interesting, right? That he said he wishes that Mark wouldn't have got hurt, and that would have came to fruition. But of course, on Juneteenth, they had the Black Wrestlers Matter 2 show took place in Iowa. The show was capped off with frontman John C. winning the Black Wrestlers Matter Championship. Suge D was on the card. Willow Nightingale was on the card. JDX. It was a really fun show that initially sparked in 2020 from everything, so surrounding the racial tension in America, the protests, George Floyd's passing, everything within that. And they formed the first Black Wrestlers Matter show, and they followed up with the second one this year. I don't know if you guys had the chance to catch the show or, but just your thoughts on the significance of a show like that. Spotlighting so many black talents, and then at the same time, how do you guys think that we can get this show to be bigger so more people can tune into this or be aware of it that don't know about it?
I love things like this, man. Like whether you're talking about Black Wrestlers Matter or the For the Culture shows, like I think there's just so much talent, man, that's out there that looks like the three of us, right? That aren't being highlighted, and so it's like if the game ain't going to do it for you, you got to make your own game.
Right.
You got to make your own rules. You got to make your own way. And so, yeah, man, like I'm incredibly proud of these performers, Kris, and, just the names. Like there's so many people that's been doing this for years, man. Like, Sugar D, Faye Jackson, who just retired. Like so underrated over the years. I'm glad to see somebody like Willow Nightingale on the come up, man. Like there's so much talent that is black, that is brown, that is, LGBTQ, like that doesn't fit the box, Andrew, of what has primarily been pushed, not only in the WWE, not only in, Impact or any of these companies on TV, but also on the independents, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not easy. Like being an independent wrestler is not an easy thing. And it's doubly hard when you're a person of color or you're a female or, you LGBTQ or whatever, that you don't fit in that box. And so like I'm glad that shows like this exist, man. I think, Andrew, like the way we get things like this bigger and get them more attention is what we're doing right now. And let's talk about it, man. Let people know that these things exist, because I'm sure there's a good portion of the listeners out there that are just hearing about this show for the first time. And so like it's our job to let these people know what's going on so that the next time a show like this comes up, they can know about it and they can watch it and they can let other people know about it, Kris.
Right, yeah. And I think what it does is it eliminates the tokenism of black talent from wrestling. That's
talk about it. Talk
to him, Kris.
Like if you look at WWE right now, there's not one champion that they've got where you're going to be like, oh, this person got the belt because they were black. Kofi Kingston, it took him years to reach that pinnacle of getting that title. Lashley, the same thing. Bianca Belair, the same kind of thing. These people worked their way up the ladder and made that achievement. And I think that the problem that AEW is having right now is there are few too many people in that company right now that are Black that feel like they are just there to fill quotas and with no layers at all. And that's kind of what I like about shows like this. And like you said, Sugar D, all these people, they've been doing this for a while. And these kind of shows are important for Black wrestling fandom, you know. And the goal is always to move to a point where we can where this stuff will be normalized. But we're just years away from that right now. Even if every champion in every company was Black, we'd still be years away from it because of the years we had to put up with nonsense, right? So,
there was a time, and this is one of the craziest stories that, anytime I've had the opportunity or the privilege, Andrew, to talk to, one of the old wrestlers from the 70s or the 80s, they would always say when it comes to race, having two Black wrestlers face off, that was a gimmick match back in the day. Not because either the wrestlers had a specific gimmick, or not because it was a hardcore match, or not because it was a strap match, but because you had two Black guys in there. That's a gimmick match. We can't have too many gimmick matches on the card, guys.
Yeah, and I remember when Booker T and The Rock faced each other for, I think it was the WCW title on WWE television. That was the first time I ever saw two Black guys wrestle for a world title, and they don't bring it up at all. You know what I'm saying? They just act like this is just a run-of-the-mill thing, like there's no significance behind it at all, and I do think what I like to see change in wrestling, in WWE in particular, faster, yes, but you do have to stop and celebrate all the things that are going on. You know what I'm saying? I can harp on all the negative, but I have to, celebrate these indie shows that are going on. Black wrestlers matter. I got to stop and celebrate what WWE is doing. You know what I'm saying? I have to celebrate Impact and AEW, giving platforms to Black talent, but at the same time saying, hey, you can do better, Right.
You can appreciate something and also want that thing to do better, Andrew.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was just going to add in a quick name. What Kris was saying, you can even look at Ring of Honor with Jonathan Gresham. They present the way they present John Gresham, they present him as a threat. I mean, as a professional wrestler and what he is on TV. If you see how they present him as a legit threat. He's not they don't treat him as anything other than the most serious dude in the company. And that's, that's a way to help other Black talents in a way. It's we present him like this. You can present everybody like this. You know what I'm saying? And you even look at somebody like Jay Lethal. He's been, a staple of Ring of Honor for I don't know how long, so big ups to Gresham, man. I know he's going to be defending the pure title against Fred Yehi. I know a lot of people looking forward to that. So yeah, it's a lot of, stuff to look forward to, as far as Black wrestlers goes. And,
I think my last thing on this, Andrew, is I think shows like this are important and necessary.
Yeah.
Because not only does it give opportunities for some of these performers to get eyeballs that might not have been on them before, but it's also a celebration of the culture, and it's also creating community, which is something I've seen over the last couple of years, where you get these older Black performers that's been doing this, being able to connect to that next generation. And there's a fraternity or a sorority, Andrew, where, you can trace the links between Faye Jackson and Sonny Kiss, or somebody like Sugar D and some of these young cats coming up, somebody like a Jazz and the influence that she's had on these performers out here, man. So I'm happy for the culture because of shows like this, but I also want there to be a day where this is, like Kris said, this is something normal, where we can still celebrate our uniqueness, but it shouldn't be a thing where, we can't get this on a bigger stage, because these people deserve, they've earned it. They've worked for it. They have just as much right to have that type of spotlight, Andrew, than anybody that's in WWE or in Impact or in AEW.
Yeah. I think you hit it right on the head, Nate. And with that, brother, that will conclude the news segment.
Andrew Thompson with the news, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew, if people want more from you, where can they find you, brother? Let these people know what's going on with my nephew, the youngest in charge.
They can follow me on Twitter at @AD_Thompson__. I tried to DM the dude who has the AD Thompson name to try to get him to come off that. I don't think he messing with it, but it's all good though. And they can check him out written work at postwrestling.com. My interviews over at Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. I might, you never know, might have some in-person stuff coming up soon. So, be on the lookout for that.
Andrew tried to get his handle from that dude, and my man was like, "I'm not gonna be able to do."
Yeah.
And of course, that was Andrew Thompson bringing us the news as he does every month here on the NWA Podcast. But that's not the only thing we do here on the Nubian Wrestling Advocates, Kris. We like to change things up from time to time. And last time on the program we had a panel discussion. There's going to be episodes down the line where we do live listener feedback. I'm looking forward to doing some of that. And there's going to be episodes like this week, Kris. We have a guest in the building to talk to us and give his or her perspective on the business and just what's going on lately. And so I'll leave it to you, brother, to do the introduction, because this ain't just any regular guest, man. We talking about wrestling royalty this week, brother. So let the people know who we got, man.
Okay, so this week we are, this month rather, we are Ashanti Wrestling Advocates, because we have an Ashanti prince in our presence, the great Prince Nana. How's it going, man?
Everything is good, Christopher. My God, your afro has gotten bigger since the last time I've seen you, my friend.
Man.
Brother Nate is still like the Wizard of Oz. I still don't know who he is. I still haven't seen his face. But you know what? It's good to be here on the podcast show. How you guys doing?
We good, brother. You know, I still got to wear that mask, man, at least till everybody get vaccinated out here.
Trust me, I've been wearing 10 masks every time I go to the market, all right? I don't play games.
I guess now, like, where we can start off, because, Kris and I know a little bit about you, a little bit about your career, some of the things that you've done, but there might be somebody listening right now that is, let's just say, unenlightened. So, could you kind of let them know a little bit about, your background, your time in the business, some of the things that you've done? Because I have to say, man, like, you are one of the most colorful and fascinating characters in the history of this business, man.
With the little stint that I had, it's been about, it's going on 30 years now, all right, soon, all right, or maybe something like that. Almost 26, almost 27, I stopped counting, all right, but I started in Brooklyn, in New York City with the Hall of Famer, the Honorable, Johnny Rodz, the unpredictable one, all right. Johnny Rodz is a great guy, great teacher, taught many guys. I started over there at his gym, really got my butt handed to me, all right, from guys like Devon Dudley, the Spanish Angel, the Baldies, from ECW, Big Vito, all right. These are just some of the names, Mr. Fabian Street, and then, later on, as I got more experience, I started moving on to the Northeast New York independent scene, all right. Soon after that, I made my way over to Delaware, where I was, a mainstay with the ECWA, the Jim Kettner era, all right. He's the person that, founded and originated the Super 8 tournament.
Yes.
We created Ring of Honor also. I was one of the first members of the Ring of Honor roster back in 2002. The first show they ever had, and helped build that company into the United States, second largest pro wrestling company. owned by Sinclair Broadcast Group, and Prince Nana, I've been a wrestler, I've been a promoter, I've been a wrestling manager, I've been a television broadcaster, I've also been a producer in the back. So, I'm a man of many traits, but I love my time in the ring. All right. I love the time that I had in the ring. Japan, I went to England, many great experiences, through the wrestling business. And you have to remember, I'm royalty, all right, from the great Ashanti tribe in Ghana, West Africa. All right? Big ups to Kofi Kingston on a huge accomplishment a few years ago on becoming the world champion for the WWE. That was a great accomplishment. But that's where we at now. That's where we at. So it's good to be here on the show. I've been kind of like in my project creating mode over the last 2 years or so. So it's good to be here.
No doubt, brother. And I know Kris got a bunch of questions. I got some questions for you too, man. But real quick, because you did bring up Kofi, and that's something that we've talked about before on this show,
Kofi,
man. Like
Kofi, all right? It's Kofi. Say it like that. Kofi. All right? Yeah, that's how you say it. I don't know what, this coffee. What? I don't know. You get it right, all right?
It's Kofi.
All right? That's my father's name, all right? Just so everybody know, the first person to use the name Kofi in the wrestling business was Prince Nana, and that was at ECWA, all right?
Okay, see, now I've been enlightened, so I appreciate that, brother. What did that mean? Because it meant a lot to me, that WrestleMania moment, and I know it meant a lot to Kris. But what did it mean specifically to you to see that moment happen? Because I didn't think it was gonna happen, man.
To see that moment happen, it was like, okay, the industry is finally evolving. All right, for many, many years, it was like stuck at this, place where it couldn't turn anymore. You understand? Like, like the world just stopped turning. But now it's turning again. There's more all-inclusiveness in the heavyweight title picture for the tag team titles and the world title. It was definitely a breath of fresh air. All right. But, the more things change, the more things stay the same. Remember, Prince Nana told you that.
So what is your official role in Ring of Honor at this moment? Are you still affiliated with them?
No. The only role is that I'm a legend. All right. I'm a legend with the company. All right. They can call me. I did everything there. I'm waiting. I'm, looking to see what I could bring to the table. I did it all. Like, what's there to do, Christopher? Huh? Come in with someone else and then they just not get the world title and then go to NXT. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. Like, whoever's coming in next with Prince Nana, they have to be here for the long haul. All right, get it in contract. They have to know they're going to be under contract with the embassy for 6 years, and then we can go from there. Not this hokey pokey, we're going to make someone huge and then, for NXT to take them. Like, it just doesn't
right.
make sense.
Mm-hmm. Would you ever consider going to WWE under a different moniker? Because I know you as Prince Nana, and that's what I'm used to. And I know how they do in WWE when they get guys from other companies, they try to give them something else. Does the bag have to be right, or what? Like what's where are you with that?
You're talking my language. The bag always has to be right, no matter what the heck is going on. All right, because I have a family to feed, just like everybody else. So that's number one. But number two, I'm an actor. All right, I bring now. If I want to play a normal human being, all right, from Harlem, New York, I can play that role. If I want to play a guy from Switzerland, all right, I can play that role. If I want to play a Jamaican, I can play that role. I can play any role in acting, all right. I have the ability. I've trained, all right. I've been in television and in films and in comedies, and I've also done stand-up comedy too, in a different character, not in, you know, the who I am right now. You know, this is who I am talking to you. You know, this is me. That's why I'm comfortable talking to you like this. All right. But when it's time to act and put the switch on to go meet with Vince McMahon, all right, I might sound a little bit like this. You know, I might change it up. You know, I might say, hey, listen, hey, Vince, it's really an honor to meet you. It's really an honor to meet you. I'm looking forward to becoming a part of. You know, I would go into some.
Yeah,
that's the ultimate code switch.
That's some code switching for that ass, man.
All right, a lot of people can't do it. All right, they can't do it. All right, my friend. So you know, but I'm comfortable talking to you like this because this is my culture. All right. So you know, whatever they got people acting on TV and stuff like that, you know, they're acting. And that's good, but this is a part of my culture. That's why it's so easy and so fluently comes out, and you understand what I'm saying, you know?
Well, earlier you said the more things change, the more they stay the same, and I think that's true inside of wrestling and outside of wrestling. And I'm wondering, like, over your long career, how have things changed for maybe the better, and how have they maybe stayed the same in terms of the way Black and brown performers are treated in this business?
It's not really like the Black and brown performers for years have gotten opportunities. All right, we have Ron Simmons, we have this, that, we have so many people. You know, we could go down Bobo Brazil, you know, there's so many people that, you know, Junkyard Dog, so many people that were icons in the industry. You know, but you know, who wants to go ahead and jump, you know, become the civil rights activist? Who? All right. Who is the one that has done it? All right. Is it Kofi Kingston? I'm asking you guys a question.
I don't know, man.
Is it Kofi? Is it Mark Henry?
You see, that's a good question.
Who is it? Who is the one that really advocates for, you know, the entertainers in the wrestling business, who put the years in, who put the experience in, who gave, you know, people who are getting signed to NXT and AEW the encouragement and the guidance and the knowledge and the coaching, you know, for them to get there. Who they think did it? Vince McMahon?
Look, honestly, I think it's people.
Who they think did it?
I think it's people like Scoot Andrews, people like yourself, people like Black G, Sugar D, Faye Jackson, like people that's been working but are not getting that mainstream kind of credit.
Right. And you know, the thing is that you need to put in, you know, you said a lot of names. All right. You just said a whole fluke of names, my friend. All right. But, you know, let's just be honest. I don't care what, like, the industry these days, you want to know what changed? People are getting to the success way too quick these days. I'm going to say a lot of the urban performers, okay, they feel that the whole entitlement movement, like entitlement, this goes for all performers, not the urban performers. This goes for all of the wrestling performers. They have that entitlement thing going on. All right, no one wants to get on the road, all right, and really make a name. They want to get signed. All right, everyone wants to train a little bit and get signed. Train a little bit, get signed. Oh, I have a fantastic body. I'm going to train a little bit. I'm going to try my best to do everything perfect to a T. I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. Boom, get me on TV. And a lot of people, they do have that natural talent, but at the same time, you don't have the miles, all right? You don't have the etiquette, all right? You don't have the humbleness that is supposed to be in every performer when they step into that ring, because you're putting your lives on the line and you're putting your hands, your life into somebody else's hands. So, you know, I personally don't. You know, I think that's the thing in the wrestling business that needs to change. You know, people need to pay a little bit more dues before they rise to the top. I think the you know, the time clock went back a little bit in wrestling, and it's all about, you know, being young, and it's not about being in your prime. And let me just tell you, in real life, a lot of the prime guys would mess up the younger guys. So I just wanted to let that be known.
Okay, I want to stay on that for a second. So what should like the humbling process look like in wrestling? You know, because a couple years ago, Lio Rush was getting some flack because he didn't want to carry bags, you know what I'm saying? Because he was like, you know, look, man, I'm a grown man. You could carry your own bags. That's just not something I do. I'm kind of, I guess I'm in his camp a little bit, but I could understand the other side of that. Like, is there a middle ground between carrying some
I don't really understand. I think the carrying bags thing was like over exaggerated. That's number one.
Okay.
Because nobody is in my years, you know, maybe when we, you know, if Lio Rush was just getting into the business, people would be like, oh, grab my bag, or, you know, something of like that nature, or, you know, knowing that you're new with a company and like, you know, sometimes you have to just have that common courtesy as a new guy, all right, to do stuff for the older guys who are going to pave the way for you, because they're, you know, you be nice sometimes. I'm not saying be fake, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes you have to be nice. You know what I'm saying? For people to, you know, really like dig into you and help you and give you the advice that you need. And a lot of guys just don't take that initiative. They don't take that initiative to say, hey, Nana, do you need some water? Hey, Nana, hey, don't worry about your bag, Nana. Just go ahead up. I know you can take that. I'm going to grab it for you. Just so I can remember, hey, wow, that young guy is good. Now it's like, you know, hey, Nana, your bag, you know, your bag is there. Like, you know, I mean, I could understand, you know, where the older guys' frustration come in, but at the same time, you know, I think that whole thing with Leo is exaggerated, number one. I don't think anyone asked him to get bags. But at the same time, you know, you're not on their level yet. Okay?
Right.
You haven't, yes, you got signed to NXT and you did a lot of great. You're very athletically, you know, gifted. Okay? But you need to really put in some time. And I think the way to address that in wrestling, you know, and I know people are going to hate me for saying this, but, you know, this is neither here nor there, is there needs to be some kind of union going on. But that's
right. Oh,
That's something Kris been talking about for years.
You know, but
yeah.
the union thing, it's hard to do because not a lot of people, you know, want to be in the business of wrestling. I'm talking about the business like the way the WWE is.
Well, you're still in New York, aren't you? That's where you're at, right, Nana?
Yeah, I'm in the heart of the city, my friend.
Okay, so this is my problem, and it's not with New York, but it was with someone who was running for mayor of New York, Andrew Yang, who talked about taking a job with Joe Biden's administration, and if he got that job, he was going to make sure that wrestlers got unionized, UFC fighters got unionized, blah, blah, blah. But then, like, somewhere along the way, he changed his mind and decided he was going to run for mayor. I guess it was a bigger bag or something than just being a cabinet member for Biden. What do you think of, like, you know, because I do think this is something that politicians are going to have to get involved in. I don't think this is a wrestlers by themselves are going to be able to.
The reason why he got out of it is because he was going to get crushed.
Right.
The thing is that the fans, they support the fans.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't support the wrestlers. The fans support the wrestling companies. The big
right.
You know, they support the indie wrestlers too, but it's very, very like a very tight niche. You know, everyone's broke.
Right.
Everyone's spending their money with the merch with WWE and all these other companies. Like, you know, if it looks like, you know, if it just looks like guys are begging too much, then, you know, other guys will just take their spot. But I think what just needs to happen is just needs to be an organized structure on how, wrestlers across, the nation, become licensed, number one, and number two, how they get booked and how they get paid on in a way that it's fair. Because, there's many times where a manager would come in, all right, let's say to another company. I'm not going to use me as an example, all right, but another manager would come in, okay, and the one manager, let's say Reverend Slick, has been there for 10 years. Now this new manager, who is, happens to be white, comes in, he's making $10,000 more than him, and he just started in the business. But it's, nobody talks about it. It's not disclosed. No one knows what's going on. Like, it's just that he's making more and you're not.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the problem. And and it's fine because I realize this as I get older. It's not my business. The wrestling business is not my business. Until I create my own thing, like the way I created the embassy, the wrestling business is not mine. The embassy is mine.
Yeah.
The wrestling business is not mine. All right. What I created in it, the embassy is mine. Ring of Honor, they're the ones that it's housed under. You know what I'm saying? Like how it went down or whatever went down, that's how it went down. But moving forward, I have to create something, and that goes for everybody. You must create your own brand, your identity, and you have to realize that, being in the wrestling business, whether you're in it for 40 years or better, is a part of your life. It's a part of your life that you have to add to the other parts of your life, and that's what I, that's how I'm able to, be happy and just wait for an opportunity while I'm, staying ready. Because a lot of people think, oh, he's not wrestling and this and that. No, I'm doing rolls in the house and I'm doing squats.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do push-ups. And the only thing I'm not doing is maybe taking falls right now because I have, a lot going on,
Right.
trying to get the health ready. But when this time comes, I'll start taking those falls again. And we'll get to where we need to go.
All right. And you've got those. Excuse that.
What happened?
Please.
That somebody got robbed over there?
Somebody coming for Chris.
Somebody got robbed.
The mean streets of LA, man. The mean streets
My
of LA.
God.
That's going to happen from time to time.
Don't forget, you got to connect your ID seal, all right? Your ID seal will keep you protected from all of those thieves running around.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to be promoting that. And but okay, so what you talked about creativity. You are a creative brother. I've been following you on social media for over a decade. I've known you. Has WWE or AEW or anywhere reached out to you to get your creative input? Because I really do think, especially with a company like AEW, the problem that I have with them, and I talk about it on this show religiously, is that it feels like they've got black guys that work in that company, black women too, and the sole purposes they have is just to be black. I remember watching you on ROH with the embassy. Your character, Prince Nana, could have easily had been a stereotype. You know what I'm saying? It could have easily been.
But it didn't feel like it.
Yeah, Prince Akeem or.
But it didn't feel like it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And you were able to nuance that into something that wasn't like. I didn't ever like hold my head down and like, oh my God, this is another black stereotype in wrestling, and like because I do that a lot.
I'll tell you what it is. All right, and I know where you're going with it, and it's just, it's a part of, number one, who I am. That's why Kofi is great. Hats off to Kofi for winning the WWE World Title. A fellow Ashanti man, from the Ashanti tribe. My father is from Kumau, all right, and his family, I believe, is from Kumasi, I believe, which are neighboring, villages in the Ashanti tribe. but we're very strong-minded individuals. And I'm not saying that anybody else is not, you know what I'm saying? But, we're all strong-minded individuals, and leadership is in our blood. Leadership is in our blood. Showmanship is in the Ashanti men's blood, and we love the spotlight. We love it. Love it, love it, love it. We eat it up. And that right there, and I'm not saying anything at all because people at WWE really like me, all right? WWE is my favorite company ever. I cannot, yeah, I'm mad at them a little bit. It's like being mad at a parent. But, like, to be honest with you, WWE, they kept me out of the streets. WWE kept me focused on a dream, and that dream has taken me all over the world. Yeah. But, being a leader, a black leader with, that much belief in his character, and for that much, to have the strength to walk through those curtains and really make everyone know that there's a prince coming out here.
Right.
That right there, it's like I created something that they couldn't create. And that right there is the biggest problem that they kind of have with me, because they didn't create me. I created myself.
And they're kind of like the parent that goes to your room and jacks your shit. I'm talking about Apollo Crews. I'm talking about Apollo Crews. I know Nigeria is a different part of West Africa, different country. I understand that. I get that. But no one can sit there and look at Apollo Crews talking about he's royalty and not make the connection to Prince Nana. Am I silly for saying that, or is
you're not silly at all for saying it, because everyone, as soon as he started doing that, the whole world was inboxing me and retweets, and people still to today send me pictures and stuff like that. You got to understand, Apollo is a good friend. Very athletic, very athletic, entertaining, one of the top pro wrestlers over the last 10 years in the world, in the New York, Northeastern area especially. And, anytime you are offered the opportunity to promote your culture, all right, especially in the landscape of the WWE. The WWE that people think it is, because I don't think they're bad people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You need to do it. You need to take that opportunity and just make that happen. And Apollo is a good guy. We've always been friends. He's Nigerian, African. And I have Nigerian in my blood also, and he deserves every moment he's creating right now.
Oh yeah,
because it's not me. It's not me. And I also can do many, many other characters. But the only thing that is hurtful is that WWE knows that I was right here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That I was very easily attainable and but at the same time, maybe I talk too much. I don't know. But
to me, it's just as simple as you can be a consultant to something like that. It's real simple to do. It's like, okay, why don't we hire someone from West Africa who could work backstage? Because I've Googled Nigerian drum fight. The first thing that comes up is WWE stuff.
Well, not to cut you off, because it's all good and dandy, but you got Kofi right there.
Yeah, you got Kofi.
You got Kofi right there. He's coaching them. Kofi knows me. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not like, Kofi could coach that whole situation. He knows what, needs to be involved. But the thing is that, WWE as a business needs to make a business decision and say, it's not about he could do the African gimmick or this and that. Is that this guy knows what he was doing for the last 20 years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like you asked me a question. You were like in the beginning just now. You're like, have you ever worked for AEW? Like, or no, I haven't worked or I haven't been offered, but I've helped some of my good friends with their promos.
Right.
You know, in the beginning of when AEW was starting. You understand what I'm saying? And those promos, they did it word for word, what I told them to say, and it went over, and it went over the way that it was supposed to. You know, so I do help my friends in the industry, you know, the ones that come to me. But for as far as like, you know, WWE and all these other companies, there's just so many political roadblocks that just need to be unblocked. And
well, let's stay here for a second, Nana, because earlier in this show we talked about the Kenice Mobley situation. You know, the woman that was hired by the WWE and messed up the bag by going on a friend's podcast. So hopefully you ain't messing up no bags by coming on our podcast. But like, why is it so few people of color in those rooms making those decisions? You know, when it comes to creative in some of these companies,
there is. That's the thing that people don't know. There is. There are African Americans in the boardrooms. Like one of the biggest board directors for the WWE, an investor, and he's one of the creative directors, is you know, one of Beyonce's managers. You know, a lot of people don't know that. You know, so WWE is very, very diverse. It's a diverse company. It's, you know, they have executives that you may not know about. Right. You know, and that maybe on a lower scale or something like that, but on the high scale, on the board of directors, there are African American representation. Okay, and you know, you see it. You see what's going on in WWE today.
Right. Yes,
Apollo
much better.
Talking with an accent. This one is. But the thing is that some of those executives just don't know who I am. You know, a lot of the time, it's like a funnel. You understand what I'm saying? It's like a funnel. And they just don't know the greatness. You know what I'm saying? That I possess. It's just that they're utilizing what's coming through the machine, putting in their you know, and sooner or later, I think, you know, in the boardroom, there'll be someone like me, but that person is like on the Rock level. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm just a local homeboy manager from ROH. You know, ROH, I helped. I did what I did in my legacy. It's like when Slick was there in the WWE. You know what I mean? Like, but Slick didn't do half the things I did. And, you know, maybe I don't know exactly what he did in the background, if he was a promoter like the way I was and was able to get buildings.
Talent scout.
You know, talent scout, things like that. I don't think he was doing that type of stuff. But, you know, everyone's journey is different, and not everyone can be a big-time executive in the boardroom, and I get that because WWE just became, you know, public maybe 15 years ago now or something like that. Like the company, you know what I'm saying? So that's where we're at. There needs to be like a Black-owned wrestling company that just is all-inclusive. It's Black-owned, but it doesn't look like it's Black-owned. Do you understand?
Yes. I understand exactly what you're talking about. I want to kind of, if Nate doesn't mind, I want to kind of get off of wrestling for a second. Kind of stay on it, but kind of get off of it. Because I was listening to an interview you did with Brian Pillman Jr. And the interview's going well, and it was a great interview. But you then asked him about the Ahmaud Arbery situation, just boldly. And I guess we were in the middle of that in this country. And, you know, and he gave a good answer to the question, too. I was like, you know, I never know with some of these wrestlers. I hear shit all the time. And I'm like, my God, don't make me not like you anymore. But, man, that was such a good interview and stuff. And I was like, what? And then you did an interview with Nokio from Drew Hill.
Yes, my good.
And that was an excellent interview as well. And you guys touched on like voting and all these kinds of different issues, man.
Yep. I think there's up on the YouTube channel, Nana, you got a clip where you went to one of the George Floyd protests in Brooklyn.
I did. I went. I'm glad I went because I had to. And hats off to Brian Pillman Jr. All right, he is a phenomenal superstar. I can't wait to see what he does with his career and what he's creating with it, and also with the legacy of his father.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to all the African Americans and anyone else who's been, especially the African American families that have been affected by police brutality.
Right.
Especially because everyone is all inclusive, but just like the amount of brutality against Black people is sad. All right, at this point in time, it's been sad for like 100 years, but like, come on now, we bring so much to the table. You know what I'm saying? And like everybody has good qualities and bad qualities. Why do we always have to magnify that in this culture? And it's sickening. It's sad, and I just need to ask some of my friends these hard questions because, I want to hear if they're going to be lying or not. I want to hear it in their voice because
right, yeah, exactly. And where were you? I got two questions. Where were you at when the George Floyd, the Derek Chauvin verdict came back? How did you feel after that, and what did you think about the sentencing as well?
So I was with my good friend and business partner, and we were, talking about if he was going to get indicted. And my partner was like, yeah, no, he's not going to get indicted. He's going to walk. I guarantee you that. This is how it's set up, this and that. And I swore, just because the way everything was laid out, I told my friend, I said, no, he's going down. He's going down. He didn't believe me. He wanted to bet. I didn't bet because this isn't a betting situation.
Yeah, we don't do that.
The day that I heard the verdict, I was actually in my front yard cleaning up, and my phone dinged, right? And the TV happened to be on inside the house, and the door was open, so I was able to hear it. And I'm not gonna lie to you. And this sounds kind of. But you remember when OJ won the
Yep.
Yes, I remember.
and that's not funny either or whatever, but it was like I was in high school and we were like running down the hall like we were in Sarafina at the end of Sarafina. You know what I'm saying? And,
yes.
I remember it, man.
That is a very specific reference that like a very specific part of our audience is going to love.
I got my Whoopi Goldberg shirt on.
There you go. So we were jumping down the hall and like so excited. It reminded me like when that happened, there was something in me was like made me just shout out and yell.
Yeah.
It was just so like, oh man, it was like justice has been served. And
yes,
a lot of people, do a lot of fucked up shit and get away with it, and like, some people don't get fucked up stuff and whatever. But like he had that coming to him, and rest in peace to George Floyd, and God bless his family, all the other people who've been affected by police brutality, and just black on black crime, crack. Cocaine in the neighborhood, so on and so forth. Is that your police department coming?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like
police department again coming. My God!
Look, man, it's the LAPD, man. They probably up to some kind of fuck shit, man. I don't.
They listened to the show. That's what it is. They heard you talk about them cops, and they trying to get Kris.
There's always gonna be some kind of like non-justice when it comes to dealing with police brutality. So until they change that in the laws.
Right.
I don't want to say it's something that we have to deal with, but it's something that we all have to start pushing for when we vote, when we're going out there to vote, when we're dealing with our communities, the Congress people. We have to talk to them, tell them what's on our mind, tell them what we want to change, in order for things to change.
Yeah, but you're right though. It is something that we have to deal with, unfortunately. And like you said, we got to talk to Congress people. Do you know who the superintendent of schools is at in your neighborhood? You know what I'm saying? Do you know who the sheriff is? Do you know who these people are? Because that's
half the time that people don't know, and it's sad because they know who Nicki Minaj is. All right. They know who Nicki Minaj. They know who Uso is, and his whole business and everything going on with him. So at least know who your congressperson is, who your local, city leaders and local officials are. That's something very important to know, especially for the kids, so we can have things in the neighborhood like parks, recreation, pool, different things that they need in order to continue to thrive in neighborhoods like this and become wrestlers and NFL players and basketball players and start their own leagues and so on and so forth. I know there's going to be new leagues starting soon. Like, you see what happened with AEW. I think there's going to be more of that very, very soon.
Awesome.
Hopefully with African Americans.
Yes. Yep. We don't want to take up too much of your time, Nana, because we know royal time is royal money.
My shrimp cocktails are burning.
Yes.
Because my boy, all right, Brother Nate. Hey, Brother Nate, you better sign up for the IG seal, all right?
Yo, Kris been telling me about it.
Don't let another day go by, all right?
There it is.
I have a ton of music online. Prince Nana is also signed to a nice little publishing deal. I've been putting music out. A lot of great things happening now. I'll definitely be coming into the wrestling business soon. I just can't, tell you guys.
How many revenue streams do you got going through, man? Like, my background is Jamaican because my folks are Jamaican, and they're known for having a lot of jobs, dude. What you got the music, you got the podcasting.
You got to do it. You got to do it. It's all a blessing because it all started with pro wrestling. Right, thank God. I from a young age, the age of 16, I've been involved. I think that's why I'm able to kind of I don't want to say I jump in the ring and then it's like back to normal. You have to train before you really get, but this is in my blood. It's in my blood. I love entertaining. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, my friends.
Yes. I got one last question for you, Prince, before we let you go, brother.
No problem.
You talked about your life a little bit and having that balance, I think, which is a good thing between the wrestling business and the rest of your life. So what advice would 2021 Prince Nana go back and give that 16, 17, 18-year-old who was just starting to get into the business?
Work out more. Work out on your body. Work out. Get your body in shape. All right, and work out some more. Because out of all the complaining and all this stuff and this and that, you have to be physically fit to be in the sports entertainment business. All right, and a lot of people wondering why they're not signed and stuff like that, because they just don't work out. The thing that got me into the business is because I was a workhorse when it came to training in the ring. I wasn't that great working out in the gym, but when it came to working out in the ring, I was there every day. I was learning all of the moves. I was learning all of the holds. I was learning how to do promos. I was a student to the game, and I still am a student to the game. And that's just from, through the grace of God.
Is there an art to being a manager and getting yourself over but also getting talent over? Because that seems like you were able to do that really good. I still remember the way you say Nick Pro Butcher, and you got that dude over just by saying his name. And of course they help get you over as well. Like, how do you get over as a manager without stealing the spotlight from your talent you're managing?
I think the main thing and the reason why it was so easy for me is because I was a wrestler at one point, so I knew how annoying it was to get upstage. I've been upstaged as a manager before. You'll hear the story one day.
Right.
But, I think it's more of a just take it easy. Like, just don't overdo it. Do it, but don't overdo it. You know, like a lot of people just, I'm doing my job. I got to do it to the best of my ability. And like, no, just do it, but just like know that you're working in a team. You know, you can't just go out there and say, okay, you know, he's doing his job and I'm doing my job. Let me be a machine. No, you're working together. All right, you're working together. Maybe you're working together as two different machines, but you're two different machines on the same wavelength and the same electricity board. So, you know, with that in mind, you know, that's how you're able to complement each other, you know, as performers. But when you have someone who's trying to like take all the spotlight, that's when you start having the unevenness, and like you have the manager on the outside yelling too much and a whole bunch of other stuff.
So Nana, I know our listeners have enjoyed this conversation that we had with you, and I can tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, this won't be the last time we are blessed with royalty here on the NWA podcast. But while we let you go, man, can you let the people know, you know, your social media, your YouTube, anything you got going on?
Absolutely.
They can get invested in.
Follow me. You can always follow the Prince, all right? You can always follow the Prince at Prince King Nana, all right? At Prince King Nana on Twitter, all right? And on Instagram, all right? And just make sure you're going to follow my music too. Crook Melody, all right? Crook Melody. And Christopher, make sure you give everyone the link for ID Seal. Everyone get your ID and your information protected, all right? Make sure you give them the link in the description, my friend.
Right, we'll put that in the description. And what do you what was I gonna say? What's going on with the Embassy book? Is that still
It's still going. I'm glad you brought that up. Don't do that, Christopher, all right? Don't do that, Christopher, all right? All right? I know you made a donation, all right? I know you made a donation for the book, all right? The book is still coming out before the end of the summer, all right? I'm finishing the last 10 chapters, all right? And then it's going to be an ebook available online for purchase on Amazon, on everywhere. Hopefully it's a #1 seller, my friend.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely have to bring you back once the book is out, brother.
And do you have a pro wrestling tee store? I mean, I want to get all of your shit out there.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. It's, you know, we have the Embassy Forever shirts.
Okay.
All right. Please, you know, and it's Prince King Nana. All of my social media is Prince King Nana. We're doing big things. All right. Again, Crook Melody for the music. And, you know, it's good to see you guys finally got somebody of stature on this show, and the sky is the limit. All right, the sky is the limit. All right, even though you guys paid me in you know, what's that thing you paid me in? What do you call it? Food stamps. You know.
Hey, I ain't got my stimulus check yet, Prince.
Yeah,
come on,
gave
man.
Me a stimulus and food stamp codes and verification codes. You know, I don't eat food stamp food, but I take food stamp money. But thank you so much.
We appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate it. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, man. You too. We'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks, Nana.
That was the one and only Prince Nana, ladies and gentlemen. Kris, that was wild, brother.
I know, right? Food stuff. There was so much more that I needed to get to that brother with, but we'll have him back.
That's what you got to do, Kris. You got to lead the people wanting for more.
Right? Yeah. He did it the right way. Yeah, man. I've reached out to people. Shane Taylor, I'm looking at you.
You just gonna put people's names out there?
I'm putting names out. I'm putting the energy out there, so they could get hounded by other people that's not us, you know, to come do the show. I'm looking at you, Ricklin Stevens, aka Ezekiel Jackson, Crystal Marshall. Come holler at us. I'm just everybody I reached out.
We can spend 20 minutes talking with Crystal about that wedding on a SmackDown.
Oh yes, dude. I really want to talk about that, man, dude. I want to know whose brainchild.
One of the blackest segments in the history of SmackDown.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I think it was. I think it might have been the blackest segment in the history of SmackDown.
Eddie Long and Ron Simmons and Jeff Hardy dancing to the music.
Bruce being the
yes, Bruce
presiding over the wedding. Jagged
Edge, yes. Let's get married.
Playing the official black wedding song. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, the official black / Jeff Hardy wedding song. Because I don't think nobody was grooving to that song more than Jeff Hardy in that song.
Yeah, he was getting down, man. He was getting it down.
But we definitely are looking to have more people involved with the business on the show because, you know, Kris and myself and some of our other friends, we can give you our perspective, but there's nothing like having that, you know, actual lived experience. So we definitely want to thank Prince Nana for coming through. Again, all his socials, Prince King Nana. So find out about the brother, support the brother if you enjoyed him on this week's show. But we still have one piece of business. Speaking of Prince Nana and all them business ventures he got, we still got one piece of business left to do this month, Kris.
Yes. Got
a little something called Ask an Advocate.
Oh, okay, cool. I thought
what were you thinking of?
I was thinking I was gonna need to get some EBT cash benefits as to add onto the to the food stamps.
I don't know what Nana's problem was though. You can buy shrimp cocktail. Look, you can buy shrimp cocktail with food stamps.
Yeah, you can buy fucking regular shrimp with food stamps.
You can buy filet mignon with food stamps if you want.
As long as it's food. You can purchase it with food stamps as long as it's food at the grocery store. I was buying all kind of shrimp and ribs and fucking beef tips. What you know, man? When I was on my food stamps, I was eating like a king.
All right, but yeah, we do have one last segment, and it is called Ask an Advocate. That is where you, the loyal listeners, send us some feedback, send us a question, and we answer it for you. And this is a really good question, Kris. Came to us in the Post Wrestling Forum from N.W.A. And N.W.A's question is there a gimmick or genre of character that's almost exclusively done by white performers that you'd love to see a black performer get an opportunity to play and make their own, like a cowboy or a know-it-all teacher, extreme sports daredevil, etc.? So I thought that was a really good question, Kris.
That is a very good question. I don't need to see no black cowboys. I just
see this is where you and I digress, because I would love it if we I would love the black cowboy character.
I don't trust them to do it right.
This is what Apollo Crews should have done. We talked a lot about our brother Apollo Crews this week.
Yeah.
And instead of doing the Nigerian drum match, they should have given Apollo the cowboy gimmick, right? Because his name when he was not in the WWE was Uha Nation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all you got to do is put him in a cowboy hat, and he could be the outlaw. Yeehaw Nation. Who wants to be a part of the Yeehaw Nation? Tell me that's not a $1 million idea, Kris.
Oh, that's money all the way, right? Yeah. If I were gonna pick one character that I want to see a black guy do, it's kind of like a Mr. Perfect or a Kurt Hennig type of character, where they can be funny and have the jokes and be silly, but when it's time to go in the ring, you know that they're serious and you know that they mean business. I think the closest thing we might have to that is like a Kofi Kingston. But that's what I would want to see. I want to see layers, because that was one thing I always loved about Kurt Angle, is he was just such a jokester, and you could put him in a small ass hat and you could, put him in all these silly situations. But when it was wrestling time, it was wrestling time. And that was the same with like Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect. I want to see black wrestlers have those kind of dimensions and those kind of layers to them.
And that's why this question is so great, because we've talked about like the 5 categories of black wrestler that the WWE kind of.
Oh yeah, Shane Taylor brought that up on the Wrestling Observer today too.
He did.
Yeah, he brought that up on the Wrestling Observer newsletter. That's why I reached out.
Did he use our examples exactly?
Yes, he used the 5. And I don't think it was an accident that that he used those 5.
Okay. We see you now, Shane. See, I was on your side, Shane, till Kris said that you sampling our tracks. But yeah. I think when you really look at this question, it's like white performers, they get to play with the whole box of crayons when it comes to characters, right? You can have somebody like The Undertaker or Stone Cold Steve Austin or, somebody like JBL, speaking of Cowboys. There's not all of them are going to be booked well, but they get to play with all these characters. Whereas with the black and brown characters or performers, there's a limited scope of what you can play. And so, I think out of all of the options out there, I would really love like a black Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like just a regular dude that drinks beer, don't like his boss, and wants to fight.
Yeah, that was kind of what Bad News Brown used to be.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And then Steve Austin just kind of took that gimmick to another level. I want. Those are the kind of things I want to see. Yeah, I would definitely love to see a black version of Stone Cold that just doesn't like his boss, doesn't like anybody. It just go, that's the kind of stuff I want to see. Yeah.
Did a lot of good things this month, brother. Had Andrew come through with the news, and we talked about, a situation that was on a lot of people's minds, even now with the Kenice Mobley situation. And then like that chat with Prince Nana, like you said, we talked to the brother for, 30, 40 minutes, but I feel like we got a whole, 2-3 hours of conversations left with that dude. And I'm looking forward to reconnecting with the Prince later on down the road, man.
Yeah. And next time, we won't pay him in food stamps next time. We'll upgrade. I'll pay him. I'll try to get him a couple pieces of Bitcoin or something.
Some Bitcoin.
Have you heard of that MJF coin?
Like the wrestler MJF?
Yeah, apparently he's got his own Bitcoin. Maybe I'll buy him some MJF coin.
Make sure you got your ID seal first, because that seemed a little suspect, brother.
That's the most suspect shit ever, man.
I'm not buying no coin from anybody on the AEW roster not named Tony Khan.
Yeah, it's like if this coin is as trustworthy as MJF's character on Dynamite, then you can count me out of that shit, man. Yeah.
So, we want to thank all of y'all for listening to the show, and shout out to N.W.A. for that great question. Again, if you want to leave us some feedback, we try to get to at least one question per episode. Depending on the episode, we might get to more, but you can leave feedback over at the forum, at the Post Wrestling Forum, or you can hit me and Kris up on Twitter with your questions. And we do have some questions from Twitter that we've got in the document, so we'll get to those in the months to come. So, Kris, speaking of Twitter, what you got going on, and where can people find you on these social media streets, brother?
All right, so you can find me at KMEasyDoesIt on Twitter. The letter K, the letter E, the letter K, the letter M, the letter E, the letter Z, and then the word does and the word it. So KMEasyDoesIt. I'm still I do have the new podcast going on. Unfortunately, my dissertation at my school has just been kicking my ass, man. Like every time I think it's good, a group of professors give me back and say it ain't. So
they dissing your dissertation,
right? Yeah. So unfortunately, my new podcast has to take a back seat. Like this one is just a lot easier to do because, we don't write out any script or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? We kind of have like an outline of what we're going to talk about, but it's just, easy. And then, especially if you get someone like a Prince Nana or a Rich Fan or Maria or whoever comes on the show, they fill in the gaps that we can't fill out 100%. So that's the beautiful thing about this show.
So you saying you just like this show because you ain't got to do a whole lot of work?
Yeah. That's not. I didn't say okay. Don't you Fox News me. I didn't say I just like the show because of that. I said that is one of the reasons why. And it's like I said, it's take it seriously and do a good job, and the results are always positive. So.
Yes, no doubt. So yeah, that's where you can find Brother Kris. You can check me out on Twitter at N.W.A. MOZAIK at Nate Mosaic. Check out the Kings of Sport podcast, where this week, if you were listening to the show, we had a very big announcement. So stay tuned for the changes to come on the world's most dangerous sports show. If you want to support the Patreon, go to patreon.com/the Kings of Sport. $5 gets you in the door. If you want to pay more, we won't stop you. And no, before Kris asks, we do not accept food stamps on the Kings of Sport Patreon. I've also got the N.W.A. podcast, which is a podcast that is a part of the DCTV podcast network. It's myself and America's sweetheart, Brittany Monet, and we are talking about the upcoming CW show N.W.A., which is a DC comic show that is produced by Ava DuVernay. So we're looking forward to that debuting next year. So you can subscribe to the N.W.A. podcast for all of that. I've got some more stuff, the main event over on Place to Be Nation. I've got other shows I pop in on from here to there. But for the most part, just follow me on Twitter at N8 MOZAIK, and you'll get all the links and updates for all that good stuff. Let's see. Oh, shout out to John and Way, the proprietors of Post Wrestling, for sharing the platform and allowing us to be part of the network. Shout out to Righteous Reg for the theme song, Kris, that gets us hyped every week for this show. Andrew Thompson for doing the news. And, of course, shout out to Austin James for designing the NWA podcast logo. So that's cool. Another show, Kris. If you got anything else to say to the people, go ahead. Now or forever. You gonna let me finish my line? I was gonna say, speak now, forever hold your peace. Bringing it back to the Teddy Long, Crystal Marshall wedding. Right. Yeah.
Thank you for just commenting and reaching out and stuff. That wasn't something I thought I'm in that position.
You better get used to it, because now that we got the Prince Nana rub, brother.
I know, right?
And so look, he put us over, so we main eventers now.
Right. True that.
So get ready for all that smoke, Kris.
All the smoke. It's coming our way, man. Shoot.
Yes. But yeah, this been fun, man. I'm excited. Like, the first episode was great. Had a lot of fun here with the second episode. Looking forward to seeing what we do on the next episode of the podcast, man. Again, this is all kind of a work in progress, a show that's continually evolving, and we appreciate everybody that's coming along for the ride.
Yeah, definitely do, man. Appreciate it. Just keep on listening, keep on commenting.
Yeah.
Even
if you don't agree with us, send us feedback, because that's how you get a conversation started.
Right.
Just keep it respectful.
Yeah. And don't be trying to give us African history lessons unless you're an African history teacher.
Yes, the only correction I will take is how to correctly pronounce Kofi.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. The brother is from Ghana, so I mean, we ain't gonna tell him no.
And he's royalty. Who are we to say talk back to the prince, man?
Right, yeah.
So, but yes, this has been another fun show. Thank y'all for listening. We'll be back next month with an all-new edition of the Nubian Wrestling Advocates. So keep it locked right here to Post Wrestling. So, for my brother, the Professor Kris Ealy, for Andrew Thompson holding down the Nubian News Desk, I am the Godfather, Nate Milton. And remember, the revolution may not be televised, but it damn sure will be podcasted. See you next time.
It's for the culture and we reppin' it.